Well, hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. On our YouTube channel, we talk about all things homesteading and try to implement some of those things on our rural 100 acres here in southern West Virginia. And yes, we are finally back on southern West Virginia. I'm going to step in the electric fence here and that'll be fun. We are finally back on the homestead after a 2-week hiatus in southern Florida. It was nice to relax and recharge the batteries and kind of get a game plan together. And now we're back, and as we were gone, we received over 6 to 8 inches of rain throughout the course of those 2 weeks. Fortunately, we didn't get them all at once. We got some remnants of Hurricane Florence that came through, and then we also got just a really big storm system that came through last week. So that gave us a plethora of mud, usually right here where these pigs are, where I feed out, rotate around. This I can usually get about a month out of before they completely decimated, and it's torn up pretty badly, so we're going to have to get them out of this area sooner. But it's really produced a lot of mud and a lot of weeds, so there's some grass cutting to be done here in the future. Well, with any vacation, that brings a time of reflection and assessment. And this vacation for us was no different. It allowed Kelly and I to get off the homestead and kind of be thinking about things and maybe reassess some stuff that we're doing. And one of our reassessments involves our YouTube channel. So for those of you that follow the channel regularly, stick around for the end of this video. We'll explain that at the end. This kind of all ties together. So as noted in the title of this video is talking about in homesteading, we need to know when to quit. While I was on vacation, I had the opportunity to listen to a lot of podcasts. Obviously, I had a lot of road time from here to Florida, but listened to a lot of podcasts. And one of the podcasts I listen to on a regular basis is the Mother Earth News podcast. And this one I happen to be listening to. I'll post a link to it down here in the show description. This one I happened to be listening to was a panel discussion with 4 or 5 people. One of them was Joel Salatin. And it was based around the Farm to Table Legal Defense Fund, which is a pretty good organization. If you're a small farmer, you really want to look into that. But the thing that jumped out at me, they were going all over the board talking about different things. But the question was asked, what are the top 5 things you see that small farmers do to make them fail? And so the list was quite comprehensive. They discussed 5 key points, but those discussions were quite comprehensive. And I'm not going to get into that. You can listen to it if you want to know what those details were. The one that really stuck out to me was fail quickly. And that seems kind of odd, but hear me out on this. For those of you that follow the channel, you know that I have a company. It's a small marketing company, so that's kind of what I do to fund my homesteading endeavors. But the thing I see all the time in businesses that come through or look for our help in consulting, we see sometimes a lot of businesses that really don't know when to quit or to recognize failure, or it takes a long, long time for them to recognize failure, and that becomes very costly. And I'll give you an example. This client came to us and said, I'm starting a candy store. I want a specialized candy store that's just all kinds of candy opportunities there for kids. It'll be a retail location, brick and mortar location where people can come to and buy candy. Well, our first concern with that was, okay, how did you come to this conclusion? Well, my wife really wants to do that. She thinks that's a neat idea. Okay, that's great, but have you done a market study? Do you know where you're going to do? Have you done any type of research? No, hadn't done any of that. Couldn't convince the guy to call time out and let us do a market study. He said, nope, wife wants it. That's what I'm going to do. Got to make the wife happy, so I'm going to pull the trigger. He had another very successful business, very successful landscaping business that was funding all of this. So he's taking profits out of the landscaping business and putting it into this candy endeavor. I'll cut to the chase. 1.5 years later, this business is still chugging along, but it's chugging along because he's just siphoning all the profits off his landscaping business to keep this candy business afloat. So he didn't do a market study to see if that special store was feasible in this area. He didn't plan on enough marketing budget to really invest in getting the word out, and really wasn't prepared to adjust to take a sales online or to compete in that area. So he really had a very finite market and a very finite ability with his business. So 1.5 years, he's hemorrhaging money, and he finally just says, this isn't working. So it took him a year and a half to get to the point of saying, okay, this was a bad idea. This was a bad idea before he spent the $150,000 roughly in this business. And it really, caused his landscape business to suffer quite a bit. He's built it back up now, but he finally closed those doors. So that's the takeaway to this, is if you're going to fail, fail quickly. Don't drag something out. So how does this apply to homesteading? We're not talking about brick and mortar business here. But I think this is very applicable to homesteading when you look at the amount of time and resources you have tied up in a lot of things on homesteading. Homesteading is a series of trials and errors. I can't count the many failures that I've had on our homestead, but that's part of it. As we do more self-sustainable, more self-reliant processes, we're obviously going to fail. So I'm not saying throw those all away, don't even try, but you need to recognize, everybody's hungry for the salad bar. You need to recognize when things aren't working out that something needs to be done. We're not just talking about money here, we're talking about resources. We're talking about time. We're talking about your stress level. I mean, your time, the old adage, time is money. Stress, man, if you're working something and stressing you out, even if it is somewhat successful and you're stressed out, then you need to really look at that and evaluate that as well. Well, one thing we hear all the time, and I think it's pervasive throughout the homesteading community, is how can I earn income to supplement my homesteading efforts or to completely live on the homestead without an outside job? So you see these people constantly trying to do these efforts, and some are successful, some aren't. And again, I'm not saying don't try, but you need to be able to evaluate and say, okay, this isn't working out. I myself, I'm a creature of habit, so I just keep doing stuff because that's what I've done. Just plug away, plug away, plug away. And if I don't force myself to stop and say, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Or is this really the best way to do this? Then I could just keep going on forever. I'm like a Maytag washing machine, just over and over again. Not super sexy, but just keep doing things over and over again. And of course, some people continue doing things because they think, okay, this was a failure. I'm going to try again. That was a failure again. That was a failure. Well, I think if I just keep going, eventually it's going to hit. It's kind of like the lottery mentality. I'm going to keep spending that $1 or $5 a day to spend for the next 20 years and hope I win the lottery. Chances are not going to happen. So you need to be able to stop, take a step back, and evaluate. Well, one example that really jumps out to me when it comes to homesteading or small farming is the farmer's market model. Now, I'm not saying all farmers markets are garbage and stay away from them, but you really have to have your ducks in a row to make a farmer's market profitable. Think about it. You have to grow a great product, first of all. You have to produce enough product to justify going to the farmer's market, so all the expense that goes into that and just the experience and the ability to grow products on scale. But then you've got to look at the expense of, usually your booth has fees. You've got to have all the equipment to set up at the booth. You've got to have a cash register, credit card processing, all that type of thing, which some of those things are more cost effective now, but that expense is still there. But you got to have transport, your van back and forth, carts to transport your produce, employees if you get to a certain size there, so a lot of expense there. And then you put that on top of the time. Most farmers markets are at least a Saturday, some are Friday and Saturday, some now are midweek. So 1 or 2 days that you're going to spend in there tending your farmer's market booth. So there could be a lot of expense tied up in that, and what makes that even more of an issue or more nefarious when it comes to profitability is cash flow. When you look at that, you've got all this front end expense in the springtime or in the winter when you start everything. So you've got all your inputs there. So you're spending a ton of money there. So either that goes on credit or it takes out of your coffers from a previous year or some other source of income that's funding that. You spend all this money prepping, you get it set up, and you start your sales arc. So you're selling through your season, and that cash flow comes in little spurts. So by the end of the year, is usually when people sit down and do that assessment, say, was this profitable or not? Well, I'm sitting on a wad of cash because, man, when harvest time really hit heavy in June, July, and August, I was selling stuff left and right. So I got a ton of cash. My pockets are bulging with cash. But not until they really go back and sit down and say, well, when I pay back all the things I had invested on the front end and factor in my time, did I really make any money? And unfortunately, I've seen people do that over and over again. And they're like, man, it's November. I made a ton of money at the end of harvest season, but I'm still broke, or I've got debt. I've got $5,000 more debt than I had, or $10,000 more debt. What the heck happened? So you just do that over and over again, and that really hurts. And I run into the same situation too with pigs sometimes. The way our operation's set up, we have a fall processing. So fall processing, I feel like I'm the monopoly guy. I'm like, woo, man, I got all kinds of cash because I've sold all my pigs. This year it's going to be a little different because I only have 7 pigs to sell. But when I'm selling 20 or 25 pigs, I'm like, yay! And so I've got that huge chunk of payout there in the fall, and then of course my individual cut sales that carry me through the next 6 to 8 months. So I'm like, bang, big money coming in, I'm loaded. But when you back up and look at that previous year, okay, all the feed expenses, all those things to keep those pigs alive, to keep them growing, to keep them healthy, all that money that's put into that prior to, you have to come back and do that assessment. Say, wow, dude, I just put 15 grand in my pocket. I am loaded. That's awesome. Well, wait a minute. I spent 12 grand in feed and other things. Did I really, and that doesn't even take into my time to tend the animals, did I really make any money here? And those aren't necessarily the numbers. I'm just throwing those out as examples, but we've actually done videos on doing cost analysis with the pork operation. I'll link to it up here. But that's the type of situation that we see. So before you think, wow, Troy's really a Debbie Downer in this video, did somebody pee in his cornflakes while he was on vacation? No, it's just something that when you have this time for evaluation, and just because of that podcast I listened to, it really kind of resonated with me to say, wow, how many people do that? Where you just keep plugging along and you don't make changes because that's the way I've done it, and it seems to work. I really haven't done a full assessment. So the way I would suggest combating that is if you're going to do something, you're going to fail from time to time. That's going to happen. The problem is don't continue to fail and not readjust or not make some assessments or not make some changes. Set some goals. If you've got a plan, you're going to try something new, a new business venture or a new element on the homestead. Set some goals and benchmark those goals and say, okay, did I reach my goals? No. Did I miss? Well, I missed this. Why did I miss? How badly did I miss? If you set 4 goals and you missed all of them by a huge margin, you may want to punt and move on to something else. If you've got 3 out of 4 goals and the 4th one you're like, well, I missed, but I only missed because of this. Dang deer coming out of the woods is going to run right into me. Then look at that and say, well, okay, I missed just by a small margin. That's an adjustment I can make. This is still going to be profitable. Let's keep going. So don't just say, I'm going to throw in the towel and not do anything, but put some tangible plans in place, set some goals to track what you're working on. That way you don't end up like my client a year and a half down the road and $150,000 gone. That would be a bad situation. Okay, so what does this have to do with the Red Tool House channel? Am I giving up? No, I'm not shutting down the channel, but this 2 weeks off has allowed me to really sit down and evaluate, look at my analytics, really look at a lot of data, and I'm seeing a trend that I don't like and I need to fix. And I think it's reflecting with you all too, the viewers as well. Currently, my schedule is 3 videos a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. YouTube really likes a lot of content to be pushed out. For them to promote channels more, they want to see content constantly. They'd actually like me to do 7 videos a week. Well, that's not happening. I've been doing 3 videos a week for quite a bit now, and I've discovered that my quality of the video has started to drop because I find that a majority of my time throughout the week is, of course, coming up with ideas, shooting those ideas, and editing. And what it's done, and I feel this has affected you all, the viewer, as well, you're seeing less quality work from me, and I don't like that. I would like to raise the bar. I'd like to keep the bar going higher instead of going the opposite direction. It also is keeping me from working on projects. If you notice, if you go back and look at my last 20 or 30 videos, a lot of it is me just standing in front of the camera, kind of like I'm doing now, and just talking about stuff and not really getting stuff done. To me, that has its place. We'll still do some of our homestead history discussions, some of our tractor reviews, some of those things that you all seem to like and I enjoy doing. But I want to document more of our projects getting done. My homestead isn't on autopilot, so it's not like things aren't having to be done behind the scenes. So I want to document more of that. And quite frankly, 3 videos a week time is cutting into my project time. So it's kind of ironic that I'm working hard to produce 3 videos a week, and it's reducing the time that I can actually work on my projects. And that's what I want to share with you all, the projects. You know, anybody can get in front of a camera and just talk about things, but I would prefer to show you, okay, this is what I'm doing. You can follow along in my successes as well as our failures. So that's where I want to try to get the channel. So that means what I want to do is I want to go to 1 video a week, and we'll see how that goes. So we're looking at maybe a Friday video, Friday upload, and I'm hoping that that video will be not necessarily longer, but it'll just be better quality, and it'll actually show us doing some stuff, getting some stuff done, because there's a lot of projects we have to do here on the homestead. Well, one of the projects that I want to document, you all may have seen this in other videos and we haven't even discussed it, and may wonder, what the heck is that? Did Troy fail at something? This is our hoop house that we started on last winter and actually ran out of time. Several other things happened, but now it's time to kick it into high gear in the fall. You may think, why in the fall, Troy? Well, this is going to be our winter housing for our chickens. It's a new model I'm going to try, and I want to share that with you all. And as you can see, weeds are kind of tall, 2x4s have faded a bit, so it's one of those things where I need to get on it and need to get on it now, and I want to document that. I've actually shot video of us setting this whole thing up to this point, and of course never shared it because it's not a completed project. So those are that's a project that I want to jump on, and there's more. Another project is to finish this turkey. Again, you've seen this in a lot of my videos, the unfinished barn. So we need to get some wood put up, we need to get our siding done, we need to do an expanded corral. There's all kinds of stuff that needs to happen, so that's a project. Another project is working on our retreat, our elements that we're trying to build on the back of the homestead, kind of an off-grid camp situation. That's why I keep collecting these barrels. There's a lot of things we're going to do with water catchment, vermicomposting toilets, and a couple other things. So these all have benefits to us, so we want to start documenting that as we work on it more. We also have started putting together a plan for our 2-acre camp up in the eastern part of the state, where we want to do an off-grid setup there. We want to build a cabin up there that'll be completely off-grid. So there's going to be a lot of experimentation we do up there. I'm excited to try a whole bunch of different things, and I expect a ton of failures because I really want to go fully off-grid, but really kind of go off the reservation on some things we want to try that are not typical for well, what we have here at Red Tool House, but maybe a little different even for some other off-grid setups. So we want to start documenting that as well. We also have this huge project, which is taking up all my wood shop right now. It makes it look even worse than it was. I actually had it cleaned at one point. But this is our sawmill. We have an agreement with Norwood, working on this sawmill, going to put it together, going to produce some videos talking about this mill. This is actually the same brand of mill that I bought and put together 17, 18 years ago now, that my brother has. You've seen some of that in some previous videos. But this is a brand new mill, and we're going to document that, not only the assembly of it, but we're going to document the use of it and all the different things that we can do with it and all the things we're going to do here on the homestead with it. So we're anxious to show that. So needless to say, we've got a lot going on, and I kind of went out on a limb there. I did something I don't like to do, and that's to forecast, because I don't want to underdeliver, overpromise and underdeliver. But you can see there's a lot of stuff we've got going on, and I'm finding that if I can free up some more time through the week, then I can work on some of these things. So I'm hoping that while we may get less video quantity, the quality will be better, and even the subject matter hopefully will be more engaging. If this is disappointing, I'm sorry. I actually was talking to a good friend of mine today. He watches the channel a lot, and he kind of said, well, I understand. He kind of seemed a little disappointed, but yeah, Richard's a good buddy of mine, so we can shoot straight with one another, and I appreciate him giving me that feedback. But he also understands that there's a lot of time that goes into this, and he wasn't quite sure how I could get it all done in the first place. So I appreciate his input, and I appreciate your all's input. Comment below what you think. Give me some thumbs up, give me some discussion one way or the other, and let me know what maybe I should keep, what should stay, if we want to do some of these topics that we still do, but maybe not as much, if we still need to do the marketing, the history, that type of stuff. But I'm hoping that when we go to one video a week, that those will be better videos. Well, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I implore, stick around, don't leave. When we get a video posted Friday, we'll start this new schedule and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, then we'll adjust and do something else. Check us out on our website, redtoolhouse.com, and check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/redtoolhousefarm. All right, take care, everybody.